Welcome, and thanks for joining me. We're going to do a very gentle, very accessible class, all from seated position in a chair. This practice is going to move the whole body though. We're going to move the torso in many directions, the hips, the legs, the shoulders, and we're going to give some attention to the breath, which will be great for calming and stress reduction, as well as improving breathing. So the first thing that we need to think about is the chair that we're sitting in. So I've got a folding chair. You can use any chair, but it's nice if it's a firm chair and not like a soft couch. And the other thing is that I've elevated this chair with a couple of blankets so that my hips are higher than my knees. So if you have long legs or short chairs, you want to adjust that for yourself so that you're not sitting with your knees higher than your hips, which makes your spine slump. And it's just a lot of work to stay upright. So I've just put a few blankets here. You can pause the video and get yourself set up with that. And then we're just going to start sitting forward on the chair. So I'm not sitting way back in the chair. I've walked my sitting bones forward to the front edge, and so that I can keep this nice elongated spine with all the natural curves of the spine, and I'm not feeling collapsed or leaning back. My feet are right underneath my knees, and my hands are just resting comfortably on my thighs. So just take a moment to set that up. One of the things that I like to do is really find the sitting bones. So those are the bones of our pelvis that we sit on. So if you lean to one side, and even if you're on a cushion or a blanket and leaning from one side to the other, you can really feel that there are two halves to the pelvis, two bones, part of the pelvis that you're sitting on. All right, so we want to bring even weight to the two halves. So just kind of like a pendulum, I'm going back and forth, feeling my weight on this side and then this side, and slowly coming back to the midline. I also want to check in that my pelvis is upright. So that might not really mean anything to you unless you've taken classes with me, and we work with this a lot. But let's just think as a first experiment, if this is the first time working with me, that your pelvis is a bowl that has water in it. And we don't want to tip that water out the back. We also don't want to be tipping it and pouring the water out the front. We want to have that bowl upright so that the water is sitting level in it. This is an ongoing exploration. The more you play with this, the more you start to become aware of that neutral, natural position of the pelvis. Another cue you can look for is that when you feel your lower back, you should feel that natural lumbar curve. All right, so in our pelvis, the bottom part of our spine, the tailbone, and what the tailbone hangs from is the sacrum. The two hip bones attached to that sacrum. It's part of your spine, but it's also part of your pelvis. We want that sacrum at a 30-degree angle. So if I have my sacrum perpendicular to the floor, my bowl of my pelvis is pouring water out the back. All right, less of an issue for most people is to be tipping too far forward, but it can happen. So many of us tend to sit like this because we sit in chairs so much. So let's roll forward on those sitting bones, bring your pelvis upright, and let the top of the sacrum be forward of the bottom of the sacrum where the tailbone attaches. Okay? That's something you can play with. You can sit in the chair many times a day. You can play with that every time you sit down. Okay, so we're going to start, once we've got that established, with just connecting with our breath. So place one hand on your chest and place your other hand on your belly. And you can close your eyes or you can keep them open. And you might like to keep them open and just gaze downward toward the floor with a non-focused gaze. Just notice your breath. We're not trying to do anything special to the breath right now, but simply become aware of it. Placing my hands on the chest and the belly help me to also feel the movement of breath. So as I said, I'm not trying to do any special kind of breath. I'm just letting the breath breathe me. And I'm tuning in. Now you may notice that the breath changes as we sit here and tune in. Life tends to affect us in various ways, and our breath responds to that. Which is why it's so good to become aware of the breath, because when we tune into the breath, it can shift things back into a state of equilibrium. It can help us calm down, or it can stimulate us and wake us up. Great. So let's just bring the hands back to our thighs. And we're going to do a little moving practice. So as I was saying before, we could imagine our pelvis like a bowl full of water. So now we are going to spill the water. We're going to tip our bowl back and let the water pour out the back. And then we're going to roll forward, tipping the bowl forward, let the water pour out the front. So just roll back and let your pelvis tip backward. Roll forward, let the pelvis tip forward. Let the water pour down the back of your chair. Coming back up, let the water pour forward. Good. You'll notice that not just your pelvis is moving, your spine is moving. So we can let that movement travel all the way up. Right now I'm really just kind of moving from the pelvis. Of course, because your spine is attached, it moves. So I'm going to take advantage of that, and as I pour the water down the back of my chair, I'm going to curl inward, bringing the chin in, curling forward. My tail is coming this way towards the knees and up, and my head is curling in. Then, without really changing my head, I'm going to lift that pelvic bowl upward and start to pour it down the front of the chair, which is unfolding that curled spine and opening it up and turning it into a back arc. Let your heart area widen and reach upward. Your head can go back if it feels okay for your neck. You can reach with your chin. You could open your mouth and make an ah sound. Let's do a few of those. Let the pelvis roll back first. Let the pelvis start the move, curling forward. And when you're in the curling forward this time, stretch your hands out as far as you can towards your knees. Feel how your shoulder blades are coming away from the midline, away from each other. And then let's let the pelvis begin moving again, rolling forward. That unfolds that curled spine. The chest is reaching up. Your head can tip back. And now your hands are sliding back a little bit along the thighs. Bring your shoulder blades towards each other. Let your chest be open and they have support from the back, from those shoulder blades just squeezing in together to open that chest. And you can open your mouth. Good. Let's roll one more time. Back. Curling into the front. Letting your shoulder blades slide apart. Let your hands reach towards your knees. If you take a breath, you can really feel your back body opening, lengthening, widening, and receiving that breath. And then I roll back up and forward, opening the front body, squeezing my shoulder blades, reaching my chin up. And if this is not comfortable for your neck, you can just keep the head as neutral as feels best for you. And I like to open the mouth and release the jaw. Great, let's come back to neutral. Let's do a little rotation. So I'm just going to start really simple by turning my chest and my head to look to the side, back to the front, and then looking to the side. And you might find as you go back and forth that your breath starts to synchronize. Could be going in at one point, out at another point with one move, and in with another move. I'm not going to tell you how to breathe right now, but I'm going to invite you to pay attention that you're not holding your breath. That means you're really letting it flow, you're letting the exhalation go. As you do this, you may start to feel that you can move more, and so I'm sliding one hand out toward the knee, the other hand's coming back towards my hip. And I am letting my pelvis move. So my pelvis is also turning with me. I don't want to glue it to the chair and just try to move the rest of my spine. You may find that you can cross one hand over. So if that hand can easily cross to the other opposite leg, that's fine. Keep your chin low as you turn. So if you notice as you're turning and you're looking to the side that your head gets pulled back, your chin gets pulled up, then that's too far for you and it's not healthy for your neck. So keep your chin low and just go as far as you can with the chin low. And if that's not comfortable, it's always a great idea and safe and a good place to orient yourself by bringing your chin to where your sternum is. So if I'm twisting and I feel like, ooh, that's too much for my neck, then I can just let my chin find my sternum. But I'm still turning and twisting. We're going to do one more, twisting to the first side. Maintain that twist and just bring your chin back towards not only your sternum, but the opposite shoulder, like you're looking back over your knees again, but your torso is turning the other way. And then inhale to the front, exhale to the other side. I told you I wasn't going to tell you how to breathe, but that's how I'm breathing right now. So I'm going into the twist, and then I'm turning my chin back to look over the shoulder that's coming into the twist, crossing over the midline, and then coming back. Great. So now I want to do one more movement with my spine. We went forward and back and into a twist. So I want to move the sides. So I'm just going to press my right sitting bone down and curl over to the left. You can mirror me, you can follow my instructions, but just whichever sitting bone you root down, you're curling the other way. And then come back up, pressing the left sitting bone down and curling my body to the right. And if you're not used to practicing this, you may not curl as far as you see me curling. That's okay. Just kind of go feel what it feels like in your body. Go with what feels good to you. And then I'm going to press my right sitting bone down and lift my right arm up. So my right sitting bone's pushing down. My right hand is reaching as high as it can. Okay, if this is not comfortable for your shoulders, take your hand here. You don't even have to use your arm if you got a shoulder thing going on. So I'm lengthening as much as I can through that right side. My left hand is reaching down. Maybe there's a chair leg or something I could kind of reach for. And as my left hand reaches down and my right hand reaches up, I'm going to curl. Now, to come out of this, I do really like to use the breath. So I'm going to breathe in and let it bring me back up. Exhale the arm down. Let's press down with the left sitting bone and reach the left hand up. It's growing as long as I can through my left side. Let the right arm drop down, kind of reaching a little bit for the floor, and I curl. So by pressing my left sitting bone down, I'm lengthening my left side. And you can see maybe that I'm grabbing onto this chair leg. You could grab a chair leg, or you can just let your hand reach. And then to come up, we'll breathe in and exhale the arm down. So we've just moved our spine in all the main planes of movement, linear directions that the spine moves. So that's a great practice. Even if you just turn the video off now and you go about your day, you've gotten some good movement in. All right. We're going to get into our hips now. So oriented as I am sitting in this chair, I'm just going to take my left leg out to the left as far as I can. I'm aiming for this, this whole quarter slice of the pie here. So like a 90-degree opening. All right. You may not be able to get that, and that's okay. So just kind of walking this leg out however far you can. So I've got my legs in this 90-degree angle here. And I'm going to encourage the knees to move away from each other. So kind of opening up the hips in this way. Notice I am sitting upright. I am not curling back and letting the water pour off the back of the chair. Upright on my sitting bones, nice, tall, elongated torso. And I'm inviting those knees to move away from the midline to open up the hips. Okay, so you could even sort of spiral your thighs like this. Good, so I'm going to take my left arm and lean on my left leg, just sort of extending my torso out over that left leg, but keeping this knee moving away from the midline. All right, both knees. My left knee is moving to the left, my right knee is moving to my right. And then I'm going to see if I can take my right shoulder back, as if I wanted to rotate to look at something on the ceiling. Don't try to do that with your eyes, or if you do, not that it's bad, but if you do, do it slowly so you can really feel what's going on and you can avoid hurting yourself by moving too fast. Moving with our eyes is great because it's that's what we do in life. That's how we evolve. We use our eyes to look around and find things and get what we need. So it's not bad, but we want to not just be up in our head and in our eyes and really feel how that's affecting the whole body. So then I'm going to extend my arm out. So again, if your shoulders aren't happy with this, you could stay with the hand on the hip, or you could take the arm up, and I'm spiraling my torso away from the floor. And maybe this top arm wants to come over your ear. So what I'm doing now is I'm extending from my right hip, through my right side, through my right arm, through my right fingertips, Breathing and letting that right side open up. My right knee is not sneaking in. It's going out to the right. Same with the left knee going to the left. And then to come up, you can reach that arm up. Breathe in. Reach, 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 reach to bring yourself back up. And just stop for a moment and rest here. Observe the difference between your two sides. Good. So I'm going to bring the knees back to the front. Although really, I'm just going to take my right knee over to the right, back into this 90-degree angle. I could have just done that on the other side, but for balance, I'm going to do it this way. So making sure my knees are moving out. We don't want them to come in closer than the big toes. We want them to reach more toward the little toe side. All right, so just sitting here like this could really feel like a nice opening in your hips, especially if you're paying attention to staying upright through your torso. You can use your hands to help. You can invite the thighs to spiral like this. Good. Then I'm going to take my right arm onto my right thigh and rotate away from my right leg. So I'm taking my left shoulder back. So you can either be following my instructions or you could be mirroring me. Just be aware of when I'm saying right and left that you are getting that properly on the side that you're on. So I've got my right arm resting on my right thigh. My right knee is moving to the right toward the little toe, and my torso is spiraling away from the floor, taking my left shoulder back. If your arms and shoulders are okay with extending out and up, and maybe even over your ear, moving slowly so you can feel what's happening. When you move slowly, your body has time to adjust to the movement, and your mind has time to notice if you're going to injure yourself or if something's not right. So moving slowly with awareness is very important. My left knee is moving out to the left as much as it can, and I'm breathing and feeling that delicious opening through the left half of the body. And then to come up, I'm going to reach up with the left arm and out, nice full in-breath to bring me up. And then just sit for a moment and observe how that feels. Great. So now I'm coming back to the front. And I could have just done this in the position that I was in, but I'm going to take my knees out to the side. So I'm still kind of in that 90-degree angle that we were at on this side and this side. But right now I'm just going to come forward, right? So my bowl of my pelvis is tipping forward. I'm pouring the water out this way as I lean out over my legs. Your legs may be more here, all right? It's up to you. And in this, you could feel a little more secure sitting further back in the chair. So look how much of the chair is in front of me. I'm inviting those knees to move away from each other as I lean forward. You might even be able to take your forearms onto your thighs. This is a forward bend for the hips, flexion of your hips. And breathe. And then I place my hands on my thighs, push down and breathe in and come up. I'm scooting back up to the front of my chair, and we're going to do some work with our legs. So extend one leg out so the knee is straight, and I'm reaching through my heel. And I've got my toes pointing straight up at the ceiling. And then I'm going to just play a little bit with what's going on in the hip. I'm going to use my leg maybe like it's a windshield wiper. So rolling in and out, toes turning into the midline and then out. And this is a movement in my hip socket. Good. And then I'm coming back to the midline, and I'm going to point the toes and see if I can sort of drag my heel back a little bit and reach my toes toward the floor. They may not go all the way. That's all right, but you want to feel this nice opening through the front of your ankle. And then reach your heel out and bring your toes back towards you as much as you can. And pointing the toes and then drawing the toes back. Good. Now we're going to play with pronation and supination. So that is where I'm taking the outer edge of my foot further away from me and the inner edge of my foot towards me. This is like supination, like I'm holding a bowl of soup with my foot. Pronation is where I let the inner edge of the foot reach away from me and I'm trying to bring the little toe side of the foot back towards me. So supinate and pronate, supinate and pronate. Good. And then I'm just going to make some circles with my foot. Big circles, like my toes are drawing the biggest possible circle that they can. Great. So you may notice that I did all of this with my foot on the floor. For a little more active practice, challenging, you could do this with your foot in the air. So let's all just try that if this works for you. This foot is stabilizing me. You can hold onto your chair for stabilizing. My abdominals are kind of hugging in to stabilize me as I bring this leg up. All right, so try to keep that knee straight. Reach through your heel, reach through the ball of the foot, take it down when you need to. So that whole practice that I did here, windshield wiping, pointing the toes toward the floor and toward me, supinating and pronating, and circles can all be done with the leg up. And let me tell you, I'm feeling the work. All right, I'm doing my circles in both directions. Okay, if that's too much for you, you just do it with the foot on the floor. Let's do the other side. Extend your other leg out, reach through the heel, bring your toes up towards you, and windshield wipe. So the whole leg, keeping the knee straight, and this is really happening in that hip socket. So I'm letting the toes come into the midline and away from the midline, and just getting some juiced up hip socket there. Great. Now, coming back to neutral, pointing my toes toward the floor, and then bringing the toes back towards you. Pointing the toes to the floor, feel the front of your ankle stretching, feel the back of the ankle and the calf working, and then toes coming back towards you. You're stretching the back of the leg and kind of activating through the front of your shin. Great. And then pronating and supinating. So supinating first, outer edge of the foot reaching away from you, like you're trying to see the inner edge of your foot, and then the opposite. Reach with the inner edge, bring the outer edge of the foot back towards you. Supinate, pronate. Supinate, pronate. Great. And then circles. Make a big, huge circle with your toes. In one direction and then the other direction. So this is not just working your foot, but your whole leg really is getting some movement. And then, as I was saying, we can do this with the leg lifted. So you may not choose to do all that with your leg lifted, but let's give it a try, just lifting the leg. So maybe it's just a little bit off the floor. I'm reaching through my heel, out and up. Okay, this is a lot of work, having the thighs level. And if you want to do the, what did we do first? Pointing and flexing. Oh, we did windshield wipering. Pointing and flexing. And supination and pronation. And if you were doing this on your own, you might not have to do all of them at the same time. You could take a little break so that your quads are not screaming at you. Mine are starting to. Circling in one direction and then the other. And then let's let that foot down. Ooh, all right. Okay, so let's go back to the hips a little bit. I'm going to extend one leg out, and my opposite leg is going to come across to the shin. I'm letting my knee fall out to the side. Okay, so I'm seeing if I can just put the outer edge of my foot on my shin. And that may be enough for you. You could try bringing it higher up. Okay, so this is like a number 4. Now, for more of a challenge, if I bend this knee and bring this leg up, that's more challenging in my hip, especially if I try to maintain my upright posture and I'm not shrinking away from it, standing up. If you feel this in your knee, 2 things. First, anytime your knee talks to you, stop. Because your knee always gets its way, and it may not be what you're wanting. So we want to take care of our knees. Another thing is, if I keep, you'll notice my foot is just like a foot that's standing on the floor. So I am not supinating my foot, all right, which is the thing that happens for most people. They let this ankle collapse and this one overstretch, and that affects your knees. So if I reach through this inner heel and keep my foot neutral, I'm keeping the knee joint neutral, and I'm making the work happen in the hip. All right, and this can happen here and here as well. So just if your knee is kind of speaking a little bit, try keeping your foot neutral, your ankle neutral. And then if it's not working, then don't do it. Okay, let's try the other side. I'm extend this leg out and bring the opposite foot over onto the shin. Just see how that feels. If you have the flexibility, you might be able to bring it up above your knee. See how that feels. Maybe you can draw this foot closer to you with the knee bent and let this knee drop down. Keep your foot like a neutral foot. No supinating. Now that we know what supinating is, keep that knee neutral. Sit up tall. Breathe. Let that hip open up. And then we're going to take the elevator down and let the foot off. So we're going to come back to the first side. One knee bent, one leg extended, and I'm going to place my hands on my thigh, the bent leg, and lean forward. So I'm not leaning forward from my chest. I'm actually tipping the bowl of water, that's my pelvis, as far forward as I can. You may really feel this as a stretch in the back of your thigh, in your calf. I'm keeping this foot like a standing foot. In other words, I'm not letting it point down and I'm not letting it flop to the side. It's like a neutral leg and foot as I lean forward and let that leg stretch. And then with an in-breath, come back up, bend your knee, extend the other leg, and exhale forward. Make sure you're exhaling, especially if you feel this is a strong stretch. Breathe out. And then inhaling back up. And now we're going to work with the front of the hip. So I'm going to turn to the side. You may have a chair with arms, so you're going to have to find a situation where you can be sitting on something to the side, because I'm going to sit back into the chair and back a little bit, so more of my thigh is on the chair. I'm holding onto the chair back, I want this knee to drop down. So I'm trying to find a situation where I can drop this leg down. I am holding on to this chair here. And you can keep your toes curled under as you let your quadricep, the front of your thigh stretch and the front of the hip open. You could put the top of your foot on the floor, and I'm just giving both these options because sometimes people's foot cramps or their leg cramps and this feels better, so it's up to you. And I'm noticing for myself right now, this blanket's too high, so I'm going a little lower and adjusting my seat for this particular thing. Now, just letting this leg drop down is beginning to stretch this quad and open the hip. Over time, you may be able to get that knee to go back. When we do this, we want our pelvis to be like a bowl of water, and we're pouring the water to the front. We're pouring it onto this front leg, all right? This is a back arc, and the pelvis has to tip forward like that to contribute to the back arc, all right? So if I'm really going deeper in this, I would let my chest reach up. You could keep your head neutral. You could keep your pelvis and your spine more neutral and just stretch your hip here. So those are all options. And then I'm bringing the leg up, and I'm going to scooch around to the other side. Make sure you feel really stable on this leg. That means sitting further back, holding onto your chair, and bending this leg back behind you, letting the front of the hip open. You decide what you do with your foot. Top of the foot, toes curled under. And over time, if this starts to be really easy, like this really opens up, you can let your pelvis tip forward and do this nice back arc. Reaching the chest up. Maybe it would feel good to take your arm up. And then we'll come back. All right. So let's do another twist, kind of like what we did at the beginning when we were twisting this way, but this time I am going to turn to the side of the chair, and I'm not sitting way back in the chair. I'm kind of towards my edge. I'm going to sit up nice and tall, all right? So my pelvis is not pouring the water out the back. It's upright. Natural lumbar curve. Breathing in, and as you breathe out, I'm going to turn away from you and towards my chair back. So as you do this, keep your chin low. Like, don't let it tip up in the air. You can kind of gaze down at the floor. That can help. An in-breath brings you back to the front, and then we'll scooch around to the other side. And I just want to reinforce again that as I turn, I'm not gluing my hips to the chair. I'm letting my pelvis move. All right, this is really essential for the health of your sacroiliac joints. If you ever had SI joint dysfunction or you've had sciatica, you know where the SI joint is. And it needs to be moving with your torso as you move. So just let it be free to move with the twist. So I'm breathing in, breathing out, turning to face the chair back. Chin low. And then in breath brings back to the front, and I'm scooching back around to the front. And that's our practice. We're going to finish with a breathing practice. So I'm going to take my blanket back so my hips can be a little higher for the sitting part. So I'm making sure that I'm sitting up right. I'm going to go back to that position with the hand on the chest and one hand on the belly to tune in. And just notice if this is different from when we began our practice together. Like maybe you feel your heart beating a little more. Maybe the rhythm and the pace of your breath is different than when we first started. And maybe you'll notice it changing as we sit here. So we're going to do a little breathing practice. We're breathing in through our nose. And as we breathe out, I'm going to imagine, and you can actually do this with your hands here, or you could just place them down on your lap. If you've ever blown bubbles, so you get the little wand and you put it in the bubble solution and you blow a bubble. We're going to breathe out just like that, like I'm trying to blow a bubble. And the thing is, if I blow too hard, all the bubble solution just gets blown away and I don't get a bubble. If I have a nice, steady, smooth, but gentle stream, I can blow a really big bubble. That's what I'm aiming for. So I'm breathing in through the nose, breathing out. Just as long as you comfortably can, and then when you're done, your in-breath will just bounce right back up. It does its own thing. So just the in-breath is through the nose. Just let it rebound, blossom open like a flower. And you could just take a normal breath or two here. And then we'll do another one. So breathing in through the nose. Breathing out, we're going to blow a big bubble. Let the in-breath just arise naturally. Take a break and breathe normally. Notice how this is feeling. And if you wanted to go, if you took your hands down from your chest and your belly, you want to go back. Just kind of checking in. And again, we're going to breathe in through the nose. Breathing out, we're going to blow a bubble. If you blow too hard, you're going to pop that bubble solution. If you don't blow hard enough, you won't really get that bubble to go. So a nice, steady, smooth stream. And then you let the in-breath blossom open. And go back to normal breathing for a few rounds. Normal just means you're not doing anything to it. You're letting the breath do the do. Let's do one more. Breathing in through the nose. Breathing out through your pursed lips, blowing a beautiful, steady, smooth bubble. And as your in-breath arises, just let it blossom open, observe how it feels, and then let the breath breathe you. So on your own, you can certainly do one breath after another with the bubble blowing. But it may be good to work up to that by taking breaths in between. And this can be done, anywhere, wherever you're at. You can do this when you're driving. You can do it when you're at a traffic light. You can do it when you're in an intense conversation with somebody. Could be interesting. Could make you both stop and breathe. You could just do it as a daily morning practice. Or you could do it before you go to bed to settle yourself. A really good time to do it is while you're watching the news. So, just take a few moments. Let's go back to hand on the chest, hand on the belly. And then palms facing upward, resting on our thighs, open and receptive. We're going to breathe in and draw those hands out and up. And however far up is comfortable for you, listen to your shoulders. Bring your palms together and in front of your heart. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for this practice.